The House will come to order. Will the members please take their seats, and especially our guests from the Senate, welcome to all of you. It's my privilege and tradition to introduce our guests here today. We are blessed for 2 days in a row to have the leadership, Republican, Democrat, and nonpartisan from throughout the state here, and we really appreciate all of you taking the time to be present for a historic event. The first State of the Judiciary given by a female Chief Justice in our state's history, so we're excited about that today. It's my honor and privilege to introduce the Governor of the State of Indiana, Governor Mike Pence. Governor Pence. And to my left is our Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann. Sue. The leadership of the Indiana Senate, First President Pro Tempore David Long. Senator Long. The Majority Caucus Chair, Jim Merritt. Senator Merritt. And the Majority Floor Leader, Senator Brant Hirschman. Senator Hirschman. The Minority Floor Leader of the Senate, Senator Tim Lannon. The Assistant Minority Floor Leader, Gene Breaux. And the Minority Caucus Chair, Senator Jim Arnold. Senator Arnold. In the House, the empty seat is the Majority Floor Leader, Judd McMillan. Representative McMillan, thanks for... sure he's tending to security duties here, important security duties. The Majority Caucus Chair, Kathy Richardson. Representative Richardson. And the Speaker, Pro Tem, Bill Friend. The Minority Leader in the Indiana House, Representative Scott Pelath. The Minority Floor Leader, Linda Lawson, is excused this afternoon, and the Minority Caucus Chair, Representative John Bartlett. In the north balcony, we have the husband of Chief Justice Rush, Jim Rush, and their children, Luke and Mary. We also have with us the Chief Justice's sister, Helene Bishop. Also present on the balcony is Jan Dixon, the wife of former Chief Justice Brent Dixon. We have Maureen Keefe, the wife of Justice Mark Massa. We also have with us Connie Lawson, the Secretary of State. I'm missing some people up there. We also have our Auditor of State, Suzanne Crouch. We have our Attorney General, Greg Zeller. I'm sorry we have additional guests up there. You are not on my script, and I have sent someone scurrying off to get a list if we have the opportunity to do so before the remarks. We also have a good number, in fact, in excess of 30 trial court judges from throughout our state. So trial court judges from 30 counties, please wave, and we would love to greet you. Thank you for being here. It's also a privilege and pleasure to have with us two former justices of the Supreme Court, Justice Frank Sullivan Jr. and former Chief Justice Randall Shepard. At this time, would the Chief Justice, the legislative escorts, and judges of the Indiana Appellate Court please enter the chamber to raucous applause. The Chief Justice is being escorted by Senator Sue Glick, Senator Joe Zakis, Senator Greg Taylor, Senator Earlene Rogers, Representative Judd McMillan, Representative Bill Fine, Representative Matt Pierce, and Representative John Bartlett. Chief Justice is joined by her colleagues, Justices Brent Dixon, Justice Stephen David, and Justice Mark Massa. And we also have with us judges from the Indiana Appellate Court, Judge Nancy Vadick, Judge John Baker, Judge Edward Najim, Judge Ezra Friedlander, Judge Mark Bailey, Judge Melissa May, Judge Margaret Robb, Judge Paul Mathias, Judge Michael Barnes, Judge Terry Crone, Judge Cale Bradford, Judge Elaine Brown, Judge Rudolph Pyle III, and Judge Martha Blood Wentworth. Okay. It's my pleasure at this time to yield the gavel for the purposes of calling a joint convention to Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann. Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. Members of the Joint Assembly, pursuant to Section 3 of Article 7 of the Constitution of the State of Indiana, this joint session of the two houses of the Indiana General Assembly is now convened for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of Indiana. It is my privilege to present to you the distinguished Chief Justice of Indiana, the Honorable Loretta H.
Governor Pence, Lieutenant Governor Ellspermann, members of the General Assembly. What an honor it is to be here in these historic chambers. On behalf of my colleagues on the Indiana Supreme Court, Nancy Vadic and our hardworking Court of Appeals, and the heart and soul of Indiana Judiciary, our trial court judges. It's on behalf of all of us that I offer you this address on the condition of the courts. But to start, Justice Dixon, could you please stand for a moment? In countless ways, the sound current state of our courts is attributable to former Chief Justice Dixon, a man of integrity whose calm and civil and thoughtful approach was instrumental in leading our judiciary during this last several years, a time of much change. Please join me in showing our appreciations to Judge Brent Dixon. The condition of the courts is best understood within a context of purpose. Is our system of justice in Indiana working for the people and businesses that it promises to serve? As our Constitution set forth almost 200 years ago, our courts must be open to every person for every injury, so that citizens' conflicts, whether civil or criminal, are decided in an impartial forum at an efficient price with fair outcomes. Today, you will hear several stories from Indiana citizens that speak to that purpose. Your Indiana Supreme Court does much more than decide cases and issue opinions. The court is charged by the very Constitution of this state with critical administrative responsibilities and preservation of the rule of law. Our duties have grown tremendously over the course of the last 3 decades and will continue to grow through the new year. On December 5th, Justice Rucker continued his efforts to provide access to justice to litigants with limited English proficiency by swearing in 19 new certified and qualified interpreters, bringing the total to 107, including for the first time an American Sign Language interpreter. By the end of 2014, under Justice Mass's leadership, the court had expanded its electronic case management system to 217 courts in 51 counties, representing nearly 60% of the 1.5 million cases that get filed annually in Indiana. And recognizing that the path to justice can be tough for unrepresented Hoosiers, the court followed Justice Dixon's vision to provide legal services to the poor by adopting an innovative rule requiring that all attorneys report their pro bono volunteer legal services. Under Justice David's leadership, the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative has increased from 8 to 19 Hoosier counties in the last 2 years, covering 56% of our at-risk youth. You'll hear more about this remarkable initiative in a few moments. So just as independence is vital to our judicial decision-making, collaboration is key to the daily operations. Our partnerships with the General Assembly and executive branch are woven throughout court administrative functions. My judicial colleagues and I are very grateful for these partnerships. Thank you. Three areas deserve special attention today: improving public safety, strengthening Hoosier families, and modernizing our courts in order to fulfill the promise of justice in Indiana. In terms of public safety, the courts are enthusiastic partners in implementing the legislature's masterful criminal code reform. There's every reason to believe that the new sentencing philosophy expressed in 1006 will reduce recidivism or reoffending, make communities safer, save money, and improve our criminal justice system as never before. But success and validation of these reforms will require all three branches of government to work together. We're ready. We've already trained probation officers, judges, and their staffs in record numbers this past year. We're adopting new probation standards and administering grants to our counties to ensure safe, effective, and efficient community supervision. With people like Aaron Loudon as probation officers, we're ready to stand with you to meet public safety needs. The General Assembly determined that DNA should be collected from convicted felons. But without a central record showing whether the sample had been collected, officers like Aaron had to duplicate efforts. The folks in Jackson County won't be surprised by this, but he thought of a solution. He recommended the courts include DNA data in our offender management system. We took his great suggestion, and last June, our core computer system called Insight began showing whether a DNA sample had previously been collected from an offender. Yes, this saves the state police, their lab and corrections time and money, but ultimately it's about public safety. Probation Officer Aaron Loudon is in the gallery today, and I'm pleased to publicly say thank you. Thank you, Aaron. And Aaron, we're open to some more good suggestions as well. The ability to access and share offender information between courts, corrections, and probation departments is vital to public safety. The Supreme Court and its agencies continue to develop technology for exactly that reason. And those enhanced technologies also benefit law enforcement, executive branch agencies. The BMV can make licensing decisions thanks to over 15,000 weekly court notices. The Department of Revenue can send tax warrants to clerks electronically, and police officers can issue electronic tickets. All of this is made possible when courts can integrate and collect offender and court data information. The Protective Order Registry for Victims of Violence is an excellent example of court technology and technology that improves public safety. The registry saves lives by making protection orders available to local, state, federal police. The system also notifies the victim by email or text message when the order has been issued. By the close of last year, these critical notices were sent and issued over 96,000 times. Another important piece of criminal justice reform involves our children. The court partnered with the Department of Child Services, the Department of Corrections, and the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute to implement Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. We refer to this as JDAI. This revolutionary program ensures juvenile offenders are in the right placement for the right reasons for the right length of time. The end result? Fewer children locked up, lower recidivism, fewer arrests, and fewer children made to stand trial in the adult system. Wayne County Judge Darren Dolahanty, when speaking of JDAI, reported, "The most exciting thing for me is the tri-county partnerships we've developed with neighboring Henry and Delaware counties. We have already started sharing resources and data and hope to serve as an example to the rest of the state." I'm not surprised by our judges' willingness to embrace cross-county partnerships to ensure statewide success, but I sure am proud. In a similar vein, Indiana problem-solving or specialty courts continue to be one of our greatest success stories. Participants in these courts take part in intensive treatment and programs directly under court supervision. These courts address the unique needs of offenders with drug addiction and mental illness instead of simply leaving the offenders untreated and in jail. They yield tangible results, including workforce development and preserving families. And they are successful because of the collaboration between the courts and their communities, businesses, prosecutors, defense attorneys, service providers, and law enforcement. The Indiana Supreme Court has certified 68 such specialty courts. The fastest growing are veterans courts. There are currently 12 in operation and more in the works. According to the National Center for Veterans Analysis and Statistics, Indiana has approximately 476,000 veterans, one of the highest per capita in the nation, a number of whom find themselves in our courts following their service to our country. Floyd County's Judge Maria Granger, a leader in the implementation of Veterans Court, told me Specialist Christopher Bunch's story. His story illustrates all that is good about our Hoosier justice system, justice tempered with mercy, and based on the principles of reformative justice as set forth in our Indiana Constitution. Specialist Bunch served our country honorably for 6 years. He was assigned to Company C, 1st Battalion, 152nd Infantry Division. In 2008, he was deployed to combat in Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he provided convoy security for route patrols in Tikrit, Iraq, in his own words. One of our missions was to recover equipment after a vehicle rollover incident that killed one of our comrades. When we got back home, the mission was still taking a toll on us. Some of the soldiers that were part of that mission even committed suicide. I didn't realize at that time that there was something wrong with me, but my family could see it. Specialist Bunch brought home several commendations and awards, but he also brought home severe post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and night terrors from his war experiences. He struggled using alcohol and prescription medication to cope with life. Christopher said, "It took me 5 years to get into trouble." He was arrested for threatening family members to get his pain medication. He admitted going to jail was an awakening. Christopher was in the Scott County Jail awaiting trial for charges of felony intimidation and disorderly conduct when the VA approached him. Christopher, his lawyer, the prosecutor, and the judge agreed that Veterans Court was the best approach to justice for him, his family, and the community. While participating in Veterans Court, he completed the VA substance abuse treatment program and then moved into transitional housing and a relapse prevention program with mental health treatment for post-traumatic stress. All of his treatment was paid using the service member benefits that he had earned. Ultimately, Specialist Bunch was reunited with his family. He's been substance-free for more than a year and no longer requires pain medication. Christopher is once again a supportive partner to his wife, a role model for his sons, and a productive member of his community, working as a finish carpenter. He says, "I don't know where I would be today without Veterans Court. Judge Granger and her team of mentors gave me a chance to really heal, something I hadn't been able to do on my own. The resources and contacts that I made in that court have been lifesavers." On November 4th, 2014, Christopher graduated from Veterans Court. Please welcome Specialist Christopher Bunch and his judge, Maria Granger. Thank you, Specialist Bunch. And Judge Granger, could you give us a wave as well? Thank you. In addition to enhancing public safety, Indiana courts strengthen our Hoosier families. To that end, hundreds of Indiana judges ask daily, what can I do to strengthen the families that come before me and improve the lives of the children? Being in court reflects a particularly vulnerable time, both personally and economically. The sooner a citizen can go to court and resolve differences with creditors, settle disputes with the landlord, obtain child support rulings, or be made whole in a suit over injuries, the sooner they can get back to work and back to their families. Stable families lead to increased graduation rates, which translates into a more educated and skilled workforce, which in turn translates into a healthier economy. Justice for these children and families require more than just issuing rulings. Hoosier judges are committed to that larger goal of strong families by working in their communities on the issues that brought the families to court, looking at what is working around the country as far as evidence-based decision-making, and searching for ways to improve safety, graduation rates, and workforce development for vulnerable youth. 2014 represented the first full year of operation of the Children's Commission, which Governor Pence signed into law. This collaboration includes leadership from all three branches of government, working on some of the toughest issues facing our children, including sex trafficking, the toll that methamphetamine and heroin use is taking on our families, infant and child deaths, improving educational outcomes for vulnerable youth, and overcoming homelessness. I have never left a Children's Commission meeting without new insights about the dangers our children face, along with a shared resolve of work to be done. Many on this hardworking committee and task force are here, and I'd like to recognize them. Senators Holdman, Lanin, Broden, Yoder, and Head, and Representatives Reekin and Mahan, and our Attorney General Zeller. Thank you for your work. I appreciate it, and I'm sure you all do. There are also many examples of how your judiciary strengthened Indiana families, such as family courts, the Mortgage Foreclosure Trial Court Assistant Project, child support and parenting time guidelines, mediation and parenting programs. On National Adoption Day this past November, 100 children joined new families during special open adoption proceedings, celebrated in trial courts throughout the state. Our court handed down an order opening the proceedings to allow photographs, including the media. This was done to allow families to capture that moment that they legally came together, and also to promote the need for building healthy families through adoption. Judge Mary Willis of Henry County asked each child adopted in her court to pound the gavel and leave a mark on her bench. She sees these marks each day, and they remind her of the importance of strong families. Court initiatives promoting guardian ad litem and court-appointed special advocate, CASAs, have produced thousands of volunteers. Those very special individuals who represent abused and neglected children in legal proceedings donated more than 400,000 hours last year to advocate on behalf of over 19,000 Hoosier children. In Allen County, Judge Charles Pratt and others gave all foster children a book and told them it was to celebrate their future. One 15-year-old boy started crying and said that no one had ever told him that before. How long should that 15-year-old in foster care have to wait for a permanent home? Under Judge Pratt's leadership, the court last year implemented time standards and performance measures to all Indiana courts geared towards ensuring permanent, safe, and timely homes for these children. We've talked about our children. Now, what about our aging parents? After liberty and justice for all, one of our society's most treasured tenets is honor thy mother and father. For each member of the greatest generation who receives the tender care of family, there's another elderly citizen who has no one to protect them from abuse and neglect. Last year, Adult Protective Services received 40,000 reports of elder abuse in Indiana. The population over age 65 in our state will more than double in the next several decades. Some of those individuals will need help in managing their affairs. In many cases, this help may come through the appointment of a guardian. Philip, a developmentally disabled elderly man, collapsed at a gas station in Richmond. Doctors at Reed Memorial Hospital said he needed open-heart surgery, but no family could be located. A guardian was assigned to assist with his medical emergency, and now he's in a group home, thriving, and even involved with Kiwanis. There are many stories like Philip's. In 2014, thanks to the initiatives of Judges Susan Henderson of Fountain County and Diane Schneider of Lake County, Indiana became the first state in the nation to create a statewide guardianship registry. The registry, which went online in May 2014, began in just 4 counties and grew to 10 by the end of the year. Marion County will come online this month. In addition to offering clerks, courts, and practitioners real-time case management tools, the registry also has a public portal so that hospitals and healthcare providers, law enforcement, banks, and others who may encounter emergency situations can quickly determine whether someone is subject to a guardianship and act accordingly. So just as your judiciary works to improve the lives of children and families, we will also continue to ensure the safety and financial security of our mothers and fathers. So what's new on the horizon for the judicial branch in 2015? First, I bring you some very exciting news. And this is from the Supreme Court Technology Team led by Justice David and Judge Paul Mathias. 2015 will be the year we begin to move to statewide electronic filing in Indiana courts. E-filing will transform the way Hoosiers interact with the courts. It will allow litigants, attorneys in business, and other government agencies to interact with the courts electronically. So what does that mean? Many examples of court programs discussed this afternoon depend on the ability to enter, store, retrieve, and share in a timely and cost-efficient manner. Imagine the hours and costs required to shepherd tens of millions of pages of paper as they're filed and refiled, delivered and mailed, stored and shuffled, copied and recopied, on and on throughout the Indiana courts and agencies each year. We're excited to roll out e-filing this year, and we're asking for your assistance to make it successful. Our judiciary operates on less than 1% of the total state budget. We are fully committed to being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. And a state investment in court technology, including electronic filing, offers us the best option for improving our courts while conserving our limited financial resources. Pennies of additional investment now will reap dollars of savings in future records management costs. And if our Indiana judicial system is to be on the right course, we must act now. Second, to fulfill our promise of justice for businesses in Indiana, we're looking at improving the way we process complex civil cases. The court is currently working on the development of a business court model focused on complex commercial litigation. Creating this specialty court will bring together judges experienced in handling business and commercial law cases to preside over a specialized docket with business-specific resources. Our goal in this endeavor, along with the introduction of electronic filing, is to promote an attractive, predictable, and consistent climate for doing business in Indiana. Many thanks to Justice David, Judge Heather Wealth, Judge Craig Bobet, and their committee for all their hard work. A third endeavor on the court's horizon is an initiative that will refine how we determine whether those arrested on low-level offenses should sit in jail awaiting trial. The court authorized pilot programs starting this year to improve the way courts make pretrial release decisions. New practices can yield wide-ranging benefits, such as significant taxpayer savings for jail operations, improving arrestee appearance rates at trial, minimizing wealth-based disparities as to pretrial release, and enabling people to return more quickly to family and work while ensuring public safety. I appreciate the vision and work of Justice Dixon and this hardworking committee chaired by Judge John Surback and consisting of judges, probation officers, lawyers, and legislators, including Senator Brent Steele and Representatives Judd McMillan. Modern court systems must bring both vision and action to the pursuit of justice. And I have highlighted today just a few examples of what our courts can accomplish. We are regularly confronted with new and increasingly challenging problems, not just in our decision-making, but in our operations and the programs we administer. And those, too, are part of our responsibility and constitutional mission. I firmly believe that the state of the judiciary is best measured against its ultimate purpose. Is our system of justice in Indiana working for the people and businesses it promises to serve? Facts, figures, statistics are only meaningful if they support this end. And by that measure, your Indiana judiciary is strong. And over the next year, we'll grow stronger still, taking on new initiatives to stay modern and responsive as we strive to fulfill the promise of justice in Indiana. I am keenly aware, along with all my judicial colleagues, that we have a privilege beyond description and the responsibility of a lifetime to labor in the cause of justice. These remarks reflect our vision for the upcoming year to pursue justice for all Hoosiers with energy and innovation. Rest assured, your Indiana judiciary is vibrant and poised ever more to meet the challenges of the future. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's nice when it's done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Whichever way you want to start.
Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Assembly and members of the Judiciary, this joint session of the General Assembly is now adjourned.
Before we adjourn the House, remind the members and our Senate colleagues that at approximately 1:15, we'll have a voluntary ethics seminar presented by the National Conference of State Legislatures. With that, Representative Brown for a motion. Is there a second? All in favor indicate by voting aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned.